Good evening. It's July 14th. I'm Amanda Keene, filling in for Isaac Lucan, and you're watching News Source 8, the late edition. Our top story tonight, French officials are saying 77 are dead and 50 wounded after a truck slammed into a crowd in Nice, France. The ranking politician of the Alpes-Maritimes Department says that the truck plowed into a crowd of for more than a mile, killing 75 people and wounding 50. Eric Ciotti says on BFM TV that police killed the driver, quote, apparently after an exchange of gunfire. The Paris prosecutor's office opened an investigation for murder, attempted murder in an organized group linked to a terrorist enterprise. The probe is being handled by France's intelligence agency and judicial police. Writing online, Nice Matin journalist Damien Allemand, who was at the waterside, says a fireworks display had just finished and the crowd had gotten up to leave when they heard a noise and cries. He writes, quote, a fraction of a second later, an enormous white truck came along at a crazy speed, turning the wheel to mow down the maximum number of people. Allemand says he saw bodies flying like bowling pins along the truck's route. Allemand says people took shelter in a nearby restaurant where he continued to hear people shouting for missing family members. And because of those attacks in Nice, Donald Trump is postponing his official announcement to name his pick for vice president. He tweeted today that he is doing so, quote, in light of the horrible attack in Nice, France. Earlier, CNN learned that Trump called Indiana Governor Mike Pence this afternoon and offered him the VP spot. Pence reportedly accepted the offer. Trump was expected to formally reveal his choice for vice president Friday morning in New York. We have a lot more news coming your way, but let's now check in with weather with Ted, who's over at the Weather Wall tracking thunderstorms. Ted, what's happening out there? Thanks, Ted. With this evening's thunderstorms, officials want to remind folks to be storm ready throughout the rest of the summer and even into early fall. Director of Aroostook County Emergency Management, Darren Woods, says that this is certainly not the time of year to let your guard down. He says it doesn't take long for a beautiful summer day to turn dangerous. He says as far as thunderstorms go, the most important thing to do is pay attention to forecasts and be sky aware, as it can save your life. Woods says severe weather in the summer doesn't just mean thunderstorms. It could also mean damaging winds, damaging hail, and flash flooding, which can lead to road flooding. Independent Senator Angus King says he is supporting Hillary Clinton's bid for presidency. King made the statement on CNN this morning, saying he has a greater trust of Clinton's abilities in pressure situations, especially in foreign policy. King told CNN that he fears Trump's, quote, judgment and temperament aren't suited for the White House and that he lacks the, quote, kind of coolness needed for situations where leadership is really needed. Maine's other senator, Republican Susan Collins, has not made an endorsement since initially supporting Jeb Bush. She will be attending the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. King was elected to the Senate in 2012. His caucuses with the Democratic Party is a former governor of Maine. 3 people were arrested yesterday in connection with a suspected meth lab in Orion. MDEA agents from the Aroostook County Task Force accompanied Maine probation and parole officers to the residence of Zachary Faulkner. Specialty-trained agents searched the home and found evidence of the, quote, one-pot or shake-and-bake method of making meth. 3 people were arrested and transported to Aroostook County Jail in connection with the incident. They were 29-year-old Zachary Faulkner, 18-year-old Angel Studdard, and 20-year-old Chase Honeywell, all of Orient. MDEA was assisted at the scene by Danforth Fire and Rescue, the Maine Department of Environmental Protection, the Aroostook County Sheriff's Office, and the Maine Health and Environmental Testing Laboratory. This investigation is continuing and more arrests are likely. This is the 87th suspected meth incident this year. Route 1 in Frenchville was the site of an ATV and passenger car accident. State police say that 87-year-old Gerard Dumas has been crossing U.S. Route 1 in Frenchville from a nearby ATV trail on his Yamaha ATV, while at the same time 44-year-old Matthew Caron had been traveling west in his Ford Focus. Dumas, who was driving the ATV, failed to stop for traffic and crossed directly into the path of the Focus. Caron was unable to avoid hitting the ATV and the two collided. Dumas was transported to Northern Maine Medical Center, where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Caron was not injured in the crash. Both ATV and passenger car were extensively damaged in the crash. State police were assisted at the scene by the Maine DOT. The investigation is ongoing. While the Potato Blossom Festival is a fun time for those attending, it's also a positive time for local businesses. News Source 8's Nicole Duplessis has the story. For a full list of events, visit www.fortfairfield.org. And in state news, the Maine Medical Examiner has ruled that the death of a Greenville man last month was a homicide. State police say 32-year-old George Bradford Woodbury III died from asphyxiation with compression of the chest and neck. Police say paramedics found Woodbury non-responsive at a cabin near Beaver Cove late on June 25th. The paramedics were responding to a 911 report of a physical altercation in progress. Detectives went to the scene to collect evidence and conduct interviews, but state police have released scant details about what happened. State police say that the Attorney General's office will determine if charges will be filed. And coming up in news, we'll tell you about a local author who stopped into the Potato Blossom Festival. And in sports, we'll hear from Rainey Kluke, who tells us about how NASCAR and golf come together in Loudon. And after the break, Ted will show you some of what the thunderstorms did earlier this evening up around Madawaska and St. David. His forecast is next. Golf as it is on the racetrack, Rainey Kluke takes a look at some athletes who are helping to raise money by taking part in a golf tournament. And land speed races are back at Loring for the second time this year. This time the event is even bigger and better than ever. Isaac Lucan has more.